famine. Free, 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 in our thousands, in our millions. End the siege of Gaza now. End the occupation now. End the siege of Gaza now.
Where's the Rassi? Zufi, where's the Rassi? Rassi? You got to do it now quickly. You got to do the Rassi quickly. No, stop them from coming in that area. Where do you want the Rassi? Rassi, yeah.
Free, 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 free Palestine. Free, free Palestine. And apartheid. Decolonize. Stuart, can you put your table a bit back? Can you put it back? BBC, BBC, shame, shame, BBC, 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 your hands are red, over 100,000 dead. Everybody come to this side, make your way towards this side. We have got a speaker line up. Can you move that table out the way? Can you get that table out the way? Can you move the table out the way? Can you move the table? You're taking up space. Everybody make yourself gather around here as we call out the BBC's complicity in this genocide. More than 63,000 people confirmed dead. Over 150,000 of those are injured. Children, babies, the pregnant, the blind, the disabled. More than 150,000 people that have been injured. Free, 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 free. In our thousands, in our millions. In our thousands, in our millions. In our millions, in our millions. BBC, shame, shame. BBC, 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 your hands are red. Over 100,000 dead. BBC, your hands are red. 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 BBC, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide. BBC, you can't hide. 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 Right, somebody can carry on with the chanting as we organize. There are 11 speakers confirmed to speak here. Every single second that you stay here, the doors have to remain closed. That means the BBC that is complicit in this genocide cannot operate. They are accountable for this genocide. They have been complicit. They have been giving biased stories again and again. They have been favoring the thief over the victim. They have not been supporting the victim, and they have been supporting the aggressor. We call out the BBC. BBC, shame, shame. BBC, 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 your hands are red. Over 100,000 dead. BBC, your hands are red. BBC, your hands are red. BBC, you can't hide. BBC, you can't hide. BBC, you can't hide. BBC, shame, shame, all the crimes in your name. BBC, shame, shame. BBC, shame, shame. We are here outside the BBC studios, the activist independent movement who have organized this protest. We want to thank every single one of you that have marched with us from Handsworth Park to our rally point. We have 11 speakers confirmed for you. Can I ask all the speakers that have arrived to make themselves available? And I ask you respectfully to everybody to take up space on that side. You'll be able to hear the speakers and their message. It's very important that all of you actually remain placed here as long as possible. The longer that we stay here, the longer our action is, and those doors behind us remain closed. And this is adding to the pressure to the BBC for its responsibility, but more importantly, its complicity in this genocide. The BBC is also part of the problem. Right, if I could ask the speakers to make themselves available and come towards the back. If I can ask everybody who's not part of the organizing team, the volunteers, to remain on that side, and we'll be very shortly starting. Can I ask somebody else in the crowd to keep the chant going? Big Al, can you take it up, please? Carlos. One, two, one, two. One, two, one, two. One, two, one, two. One, two, one, two. One, two, one, two, one, two, one, two. One, two, one, two, one, two, one, two. One, two, one, two. One, two. BBC, shame on you too. One, two, one, two, one, two, one, two, one, two, 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 check, 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 check. Check, 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 one, two, check.
Okay, don't this way, please. This way. Which organization? The Farmers Shop. Last minute gets around. So I appreciate your I just lay out control the crowd, etc. But I think I can wait to let people go in the sorry, is that your mic?
One, two, one, two. Asif. Can I just have you there? Any more people? Nobody else.
We are under the Public Order Act.
Event has been organized by the activist independent movement, your local, national, regional, and national organization that works on an international level. First of all, we want to thank all our volunteers, the guys with the yellow high vises. Thank you so much for stepping forward. Can we have a round of applause for all our volunteers? Lots of you who have marched from Handsworth Park have come here for a 3-mile march. We want to thank every single one of you. So a big round of applause for those of you who marched and anybody else who marched whilst we're in the city centre, and also those of you who are here right now. This is a peaceful protest. We are within the bounds of law, but we are here to express our protest, our democratic right. We are outside the BBC studios, who are right behind us, and the doors have been closed. The doors have been closed, and you are here to take action to close those doors, because you are saying that the BBC is complicit in this genocide, that they support genocide, that they support the aggressor, they support the thief, the Zionists, which they have given continuous biased opinions and stories after stories. We mustn't forget the journalists, the 274 that lost their lives, and quite recently Anas Al-Sharif and his Al Jazeera team, who lost their lives in the barbaric, brutal precision strike on them outside the Al-Shifa hospital in the north of Gaza. So we are here to represent them, to be their voice, and we are here to remember all those that have fallen, the doctors, the nurses, the journalists, the paramedics, the children, the baby, all who have fallen. Please be part of this protest. Please remain as long as possible, because every second that you stay, you'll be hearing some fantastic speakers who have been invited to come and give you a message. They've come from all over the country, and we're not going to take too much time, because I think it's very important that you hear what they have to say. But your presence is paramount. It's very important. The longer that you stay, the longer that these flags keep on flying, the more pressure is added to the BBC and to the British government, who are also complicit. We'd like to thank the press, some of the other social media influencers that are here. So we want to thank them. And just before I hand you over to the speakers, can you give a big, massive shout out to all the children here? Can you give a big shout out to all the children? It is the children who we are showcasing today, the ones who started the march. It was our children who started this march, and they have been a big part. They have been very, very loud. They have been very, very energetic, and they have definitely been the voice for Palestine. So once again, can you give a big shout out to all our children? Come on, Birmingham, you can do better than that. Big shout out to our children. We are so proud of you. Right, as we start this event, the National Day of Action, organized by the Activist Independent Movement, I'd like to invite our first speaker, Dr. Rihanna Ali, who will have some profound words for you. Round of applause, everybody. We are hospitable, Birmingham. Come on, Birmingham, show your hospitality.
So thank you very much. I want to thank the Birmingham Independent Activist Movement for inviting me. Now, I've been told that my presence here before was apparently objectionable here in Birmingham because apparently I was an anti-Semite and I was nasty. Now, I'm not mentioning those words because it hurt my feelings. Actually, very little hurts my feelings except when civilians are massacred. What's of note is that these expressions were not from any opponents of mine, but actually alleged allies of the Palestinian cause. And that brings me to a very important theme of what I want to touch on today. And that theme is that of gatekeeping. I was thinking today of exactly what I would say. And as so often happens, one's mind flashbacks to the horrors that we're seeing live streamed. And the question one has to ask is, how did we get here? How is it that at 22 months, okay. How is it at 22 months that we're still seeing this Holocaust, that we're at 300, 400,000 dead? And I think it's very pertinent that we're outside the BBC, because the issue here is, I would advocate that we're here because we've been afraid to talk the truth. We've been gate-kept with the truth. In 2023, and shockingly, that's almost 2 years ago, I called this mass slaughter a Holocaust, and that offended some people. The Holocaust was reserved. How dare I use this word? But it was the only word that fit, and it's not trademarked. The dictionary definition of a Holocaust is a destruction or mass slaughter on a scale that's never been seen before, especially caused by fire. And actually, it comes from the Greek word. It means a burnt offering on an altar. And isn't that what we've seen in Palestine? People being burnt alive in tents? And actually, that word is even older. That word actually comes from the Middle Ages. Actually, again, referring to a mass slaughter or destruction. It was used in the 17th or 18th century. It was even used in Milton's work called Paradise Lost in 1667. Now, why do I mention that? Because it's an old word and it's not reserved. Now, I also objected to the word anti-Semite. Palestinians are Semites. Our beloved prophets, peace be upon them, were Semites. So it's a complete farce to call me an anti-Semite. And I was told by some fairly big names in the movement that I was just being pedantic and it was a moot point. And I want to say this, it's not a moot point, it's an essential point. The Palestinians have had their land stolen for 77 years, and now they're having their identity stolen. And that point needs to be understood. Words matter, and it doesn't matter if you get offended by them. I also don't accept that anti-Semitism, or what I correctly call anti-Jewish hatred, is a significant problem in the UK. Normally, when bigotry is manifested, there's discrimination. So let me make a logical point. I would say Jewish people do quite well. They make up 0.5% of the population, and they actually make up 2.15% of the MPs. And that's MPs that are declared to be Jewish. So I'm not talking about anyone who's undeclared. I'm not talking about anyone with some Jewish heritage, because I believe even Jeremy Corbyn has Jewish heritage. Let's not forget the influence of Rafi Berg at the BBC. He controls everything that the BBC puts out. And let's not forget also the judiciary in the UK. Now, I've not said Jewish overrepresentation is a bad thing. I'm simply speaking facts. And if we're speaking facts, why is there such an outcry about speaking facts? Is it because it doesn't allow a victim card to be played by a minority? Now, if a group is so discriminated against, would it wield such influence on our UK politic? Now, when you talk about things like this, they accuse you of peddling anti-Semitic tropes. And I would say this, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in your labels of anti-Semitism or your anti-Semitic tropes. Because let's say there was another group. Let's say there were a bunch of Muslims. And actually, there would be no barriers discussing that. And in fact, even some well-informed commentators say that actually there are many Muslim MPs. Actually, there are 25 Muslim MPs in a UK Parliament of 650 MPs. Now that's 3.85%. And 6% of the UK is actually Muslim. So that's a 1.6-fold underrepresentation as opposed to a 4.3 overrepresentation. And let me now offend another group of people. So let's talk about the Muslim MPs. For the large part, they're a useless bunch. They don't speak out of fear. We may as well not have them. The same applies to the vast majority of the MPs. 25% of them are funded by the Israel lobby. Wes Streeting meets the Israel lobbies regularly. He even promised that he would change legislation when my suspension of 18 months was revoked last month. Why has there been no MP speaking about people being sacked or suspended at the behest of these lobbies? Why has there been no MP, independent or otherwise, who's spoken out for healthcare workers of whatever background, be they doctor, nurse or otherwise? Now, when I was standing in the general election in 2024, I was the only parliamentary candidate that called for the IOF to be prescribed. And I said Israel should be dismantled. Is the IOF and Israel that basically are terrorist entities, and yet they are not prescribed? I was the only candidate to call for the Israel lobbies to be completely banned in the UK. And I said that it should be Britain first, not Israel first, if you're a truly sovereign country. I may have been one of the few, or probably the only candidate that called for an end to usury. Why? Not because I'm anti-Semitic, but usury is a form of financial enslavement. Now it's not slave ships, it's basically usury and interest. I was one of the first and the only parliamentary candidate to publicly call for Hamas to be deprescribed. I said Hamas were a legitimate resistance movement, and armed struggle was legal under international law. It is the UK law, usurped by Israel lobbies, that's out of step. Yet not one person who appeared on the Piers Morgan show could say no to the straightforward no to the question of, do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn October the 7th? The answer is 2 letters. No, I don't. Now, what I've just said, in case anyone is getting worried, is perfectly legal. I can disagree with UK law while being forced to follow it. That doesn't mean anything. But what else was I saying as I kind of come to a close? I openly discussed last year, from over now 22 months, why these crimes were being committed by Israelis. Why was it Israeli politicians, rabbis, and influencers openly talked about Amalek, killing Amalek, and how 3-year-olds could be seen as a threat and why it was justified to kill them? Now, this extremism in the Old Testament and the Talmud was considered to be a taboo subject. In fact, still people today would say it's a taboo subject. But if we can talk about the Bible, if we can talk about the Quran, then why are Jewish scriptures off limits? That's not fairness and that's not equality. I believe in free speech on everything. Now, of course, those things, those messages that have been saying for the last 21, 22 months couldn't be heard, except by spreading it by social media and a few stalwart supporters. There were no hustings in Bradford South, and even the UK Muslim media would refuse to cover me. Now, I don't say these things because I'm bitter, but what I'm saying is it reveals the cowardice of the movement. It reveals the cowardice of the media that dares not speak the truth for fear of offense. When I was the most attacked medic, in fact, I'm the only medic to be given an 18-month suspension in December 2024 for my free speech. Was it given any coverage? No, you couldn't hear, nobody could hear what I was actually saying. My speech was legal, it was legal political commentary. I never said anything illegal and I never advocate for violence. But I was being silenced, and this is the point about gatekeeping. I was being silenced by friend and foe alike. That's the gatekeeping that I want to talk about. It's not just the biggest perpetrators, which are the mainstream, but also the so-called alternative media. And we need to reflect upon that, because to make change, you have to speak truth. Now, imagine if I'd won. Given what you've just heard, would I have been silent? Would I have cared what the media said about me? I've already been defamed, and my professional reputation apparently is damaged in some people's eyes. But there's actually only one judgment that matters. And I fear that one judgment more than anything else. So this leads me to my final remarks. I stood as an independent in 2024, not because I wanted to be a politician. In fact, I call them a bunch of crooks. It's a problem in the UK, and actually in many other countries. And that problem is of the Israeli lobbies. You will never be able to address the societal issues of poverty and injustice until the scourge of Israeli lobbies are removed. There is no party, left or right, that's willing to speak truth and nothing but the truth. Now there are some, and again I'm going to upset certain people, some think that the politicians of old are once again their hope. And I would say this, seriously, get real. I'm not here for the popularity stakes. In the coming weeks and short months, a party will be set up focused on the truth, focused on the Israeli lobbies and the occupation of the UK. Do I expect 800,000 people to sign up? No, absolutely not. But there's going to be a genuine choice between blind ends and false hope, or the alternative, a genuine resistance. That's all I will say for now, but I will end with this. We need to end the occupation of the UK. And it's never been truer that it's really the case that we need to free Palestine to free Britain.
Thank you once again. Can you give a big shout out to Dr. Rihanna Ali, the neurologist that has been standing up. She was taken in front of the General Medical Council and she won her case. There was no support, but there must be support for activists and people like Dr. Rihanna who make lots of sacrifices. Just before we go on to our next speaker, can I ask 3 young children to come forward and come and hold these very important placards? Yeah, we want 3 volunteers to come and pick up these placards because it's very important that people can see, you know, of our children that have been a big part of this demonstration. If the children can come here, because it is important that they also become part of this even more. If you can come and hold these placards. Give it up for our children, everybody, the brave children. Look at these 3, 4 wonderful children. They'll come forward with their Palestinian T-shirts, etc. But their fellow children. They also have names, they also have lives, but sadly they lost their lives. And it is important for the media and for the world to see this. It is very, very profound. Can I ask our next speaker, Dr. Jonathan Fluxman, to come forward and say a few words?
Thank you very much, friends and comrades. I want to say a big thanks to the activist independent movement for inviting me and for organizing this event. It's been a fantastic march. I'm from London, and I'm really pleased to see the dedication, the militancy, and the determination of people here in Birmingham. So well done, all of you. Fantastic. So I'm a retired GP. I'm a member of IJAN, the International Jewish Anti-Zionist Network. I'm also a member of Global Health BDS, which is a health workers organization which aims to isolate Israel totally from the international health community. And in days gone by, during the struggle against apartheid, I was a member of the ANC. Friends and comrades, Zionism is the enemy. We need to name it, we need to shame it. We need to make it a swear word. Zionism is not self-determination of the Jews, as they will tell you, the Zionists. We have seen over 77 years that Zionism means Jewish supremacy. It's racist. It's always violent. It's colonial. It's expansionist. It means ethnic cleansing. It means military occupation, apartheid. And now we see very, very clearly it means genocide. So say it with me, folks. Zionism, terrorism. Zionism, terrorism. And we see, we're outside the BBC. Zionism is not only in Palestine, oppressing the Palestinian people. It is here in Britain. And we see it through the silencing of the Palestinian voice, because that's what Zionism wants to do. It wants to erase the Palestinians. So there is no voice, no flag, no badge, nothing. And the BBC is the mouthpiece of this government, which is pro-Zionist and will back Israel no matter what it does. And to show you how disgusting this organization can be, as you know, the leaflet for today's demonstration, it spoke all about the famine announcement by the United Nations. At last, the UN has condemned the famine. And in the press conference where this was spoken about, a BBC journalist, who else, asked a question prefaced by, Israel denies there is a famine. All the time, they promote and give voice to and big up the position and the talking points of the Israeli regime. That is what this organization does. So shame on you, BBC. Shame on you. I want to tell you briefly about what's going on in the health service in Gaza. You will know that the IOF have now launched a ground invasion, the second or third one, because each time they try to defeat the resistance, they fail. So they are about to invade Gaza City again. The first thing they did was to tell the hospitals and the medical centers and the doctors and nurses to leave. Again, they are targeting the health sector. They've done this every time before. In military terms, the first place they go to are the hospitals, because they know that the hospitals give care and attention. They are centers for the community, and people feel safe and secure there. So they target the hospitals. But you know what the medics said in response? As always, the courage and the dedication of Palestinian healthcare workers is just unbelievable. This is Dr. Munir Al-Barsh, who is from the Gaza Ministry of Health, and what he said is, Our medical teams will not leave Gaza City. We will continue our humanitarian work. Our message is clear. We will not leave except for heaven. Friends, healthcare workers everywhere else in the world can only dream of such dedication and courage that our Palestinian colleagues show day after day after day. They are truly, truly remarkable. I just wanted to finish with one more point. And that is the importance of the BDS campaign, the importance of isolating Israel totally in every sector. That country is very, very dependent on its international links. You know, comrades and friends, when we were campaigning against apartheid in South Africa, the sanctions campaign was very important, but South Africa was less dependent internationally on its links. Israel is totally dependent. So cutting ties with Israel is really, really important. And we know that not only the weapons and the money and the political support, but also the organizations like international health organizations, lawyers, architects, engineers, teachers, IT people, firefighters, pilots, vets, scientists and researchers, farmers and even lifeguards. All of you, where you work, if you're a student in your workplace, join your union, talk about Palestine, make moves and pass resolutions in your organizations to isolate Israel, to kick them out internationally. If we do that, it will be a huge boost to the Palestinian struggle. We will be following their lead because they called for BDS 20 years ago. Today is the 20th anniversary. Finally, comrades, thank you all for so much for what you do every day. Activists make the movement, and we must all speak out and support each other. When we are targeted, like Dr. Ali, when our friends and comrades are arrested, we must defend them. We must go outside the police stations and be there for them. We are the only ones who are going to look after each other. So thank you all for coming. Thank you for what you do. Please keep going and free Palestine.
Free Palestine. Wow. Absolutely brilliant words from Dr. Jonathan Fluxman. Quite a few months ago, there was a hospital, I think it was Al Nasser, I can't remember the hospital. The doctors actually wrote on the whiteboard, "We did what we could." Tell the world, we did what we could. They stayed behind right until the very last second, and they were willing to sacrifice their life. And they say that we are ready to leave, and we are ready to leave this world, but we are not leaving Gaza. Like Anas al-Sharif said to his 4-year-old daughter, Sham, the interview that you've seen the footage of Anas al-Sharif talking to his 4-year-old daughter, Sham, who sadly hasn't got a father. She hasn't got a father because he was murdered. And she said, Baba, we are not leaving Gaza. Baba meaning father. You know, a 4-year-old child saying to her father, we're not leaving Gaza. But Anas knew that they were going to target him. Anas was a journalist. He was telling the truth. He was silent. He was part of all the media. He was part of that community of the BBC. But he's no longer here to tell that message, tell the truth. We remember the likes of Anas al-Sharif and the 274 journalists. Dr. Jonathan Fluxman, thank you for coming and giving your message. Can I invite our next speaker, Dr. Amar Gazmi? Thank you. Birmingham's hospitality, please give it up for Amar Gazmi.
Brothers, sisters, friends, comrades, assalamu alaikum. I want to thank the activist independent movement for giving me a platform today to be able to speak with all of you and for the vital work that they're doing in organizing these marches. This country is imploding under the weight of all of its contradictions. I'm not going to talk about the hypocrisy of the British government pretending to care about human rights and international law and all of these other fake liberal platitudes that we all know have nothing to do with how this world actually works. Because if we know anything about anything, then we already know that Britain's active involvement, not just complicity, active involvement in the genocide in Gaza is not unusual. If you consider the history of the British Empire, then what we're witnessing today makes a lot more sense. So it's clear that we can't rely on the conscience of the British state and appealing to it, because the British state, of which the BBC is a part, has no conscience. Britain is a colonizer in bed with a genocidal settler colony. And in this case, it seems that the apprentice has become the master, because Britain is so deeply infiltrated by Zionists and Israel lobbyists that, in my view, it's become a victim of state capture. And the Zionists, through harassment, lobbying, and infiltration, have pushed the British state into the absurdity of prescribing a non-violent direct action group known as Palestine Action. And with that, they've shown just how meaningless the legal concept of terrorism is. And that's why it's not only the case that Palestine Action should be immediately deprescribed by the Home Secretary, but also that the Terrorism Act 2000 must be abolished in its entirety. Right now, 24 brave souls, the Filton 24, face the full wrath of this unholy relationship between the Zionists and the British state, locked up in prison without trial. They are being criminalized for having a conscience. They're alleged to have taken direct action to stop the production of murderous machinery destined for the hostile foreign regime in Tel Aviv. They did something that we were not brave enough to do. So it's our obligation to demand their immediate and unconditional release. For decades, we as a movement have been on the back foot. The time for tepid, weak, agonized criticism of Zionism is over. We can't simply be playing defense. It's time for some offense. It's time to be proactive and creative in our strategies pursuing the Zionist movement. How can we worry about consequences we might face, like being attacked in the media or losing our jobs, when the people of Gaza are being systematically annihilated? May we not be from that camp of people who prioritizes their own worldly standing over the rights of others. Let's be absolutely clear. The Zionist entity, built on the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians, expanded and sustained by genocide, has no legal or moral right to exist. The Zionist entity is a tumor in West Asia that must be removed. We will never recognize a state of Israel. We only recognize one state and one land, and that is Palestine. And let no one dare to speak of the Zionist regime's so-called right to defend itself or right to exist. It has neither. The legal and moral rights belong solely to the occupied people to resist their oppressor by any means necessary, including through armed resistance. But the fight against Zionism is not just in Palestine, it's across the Levant, in Lebanon and Syria, and it's across the rest of the world too. Because Zionism is a global phenomenon, and every single one of its pillars must be systematically identified, challenged, and dismantled. So keep fighting, keep escalating. No righteous cause is ever left abandoned by the great majority of people, or indeed by Allah, as long as we are willing to put in the work to make it happen. Wassalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amar Gazmi, giving his message, just like everybody else. We do have some more speakers. Can you please continue being the voice for Palestine? Can you please continue supporting? Because today was a very important action, and the BBC, who are behind us, who are complicit, they certainly know that we are here. Every second that we stay, they cannot open those shutters. So this is action. You are raising awareness for all these people that are driving past, that are walking past. The longer we keep these flags flying, the message is being portrayed, and which is one that there is a genocide going on, and there is a starvation, and it is phase 5. There is a famine as well. Can I please welcome our next speaker, the renowned political member of parliament, ex-political member of parliament, and now the deputy chair of the Workers' Party, Mr. Chris Williamson.
Thank you very much indeed for that, comrades, brothers and sisters. Well, first of all, let me thank the activist independent movement for organising this demonstration today, and all the demonstrations that they've been doing to keep this issue alive and in front of the public, because it's so important that we continue to put the pressure on to raise consciousness about the appalling events which are taking place in Gaza, in the West Bank, at the hands of the Zionist colony, aided and abetted, let's remember, by the British state. But you know, it was Julian Assange who said that journalists are war criminals because they manufacture consent. They manufacture consent for war crimes. And we're here outside the BBC, and they are amongst the worst war criminals anywhere in the world, because they have been manufacturing consent for genocide. What an absolute disgrace for the state broadcaster to be manufacturing consent for genocide. And we need to be calling them out, because they're doing that with our money. The BBC exists only because we pay the license fee. And I know that many people are boycotting the BBC now. They're boycotting the license fee because they're so disgusted with the way in which the BBC has been conducting itself. And so we need to continue to keep that pressure on the BBC to raise the consciousness of the wider general public about the way in which they're being duped about what has been happening in Gaza. And, you know, there is a lot of talk still to this day, incredible as it might seem, that in some way there's a two-state solution to the situation in historic Palestine. There is no two-state solution. It's a pipe dream. It's a Zionist talking point. It's a way of kicking the can continually down the road. And even if there was the possibility of a two-state proposition, and frankly, I don't think there ever was one, but the Oslo Accords have been totally smashed. They've been totally disregarded by the Zionist entity. They've continued to create illegal settlements in the West Bank, and a two-state proposition is an impossibility because it completely atomized the West Bank now. And so the only solution in reality is a one-state solution, because, you know, some people claim to be anti-Zionist, and yet they continue to favor a two-state solution. Well, that is Zionism 101, isn't it? Because it means a continuation of a Jewish supremacist state. That can have no place in the 21st century. It should have had no place in the 20th century. Israel should never have been created in the first place. What right did Britain have to give Palestine to the Zionists, who had no right to it, at the expense of the Palestinian people who'd lived there for thousands of years? It's an abomination. And they weren't content, were they, the Zionists, with the land which had been earmarked for them when they divided historic Palestine. They went for a land grab in 1948. They went for a further land grab in 1967. And they've been continuing with these land grabs every single year ever since. It was created out of terrorism. It was created because the government of the day succumbed to terrorism. It should never, ever have happened. And so we take the position, I take the position, along with George Galloway and David Miller last month, we launched the One State Palestine campaign because we believe that is the only solution, the only just solution for a one unitary state for the Palestinian people, for all people, frankly, to live there with equal rights. But any Israelis who want to remain in historic Palestine after the Zionist entity has been dismantled would have to go through a process of de-Zionization, just as we saw at the end of the Second World War, when there was a denazification process undertaken in Nazi Germany. Because people, the Palestinian people, cannot be expected to live cheek by jowl with their oppressors for the last 77 years. That is unconscionable. So there has to be a de-Zionization process. There has to be reparations for the injustice that the Palestinian people have endured for 77 years. There has to be a right of return for all those Palestinian people who have been displaced. And there has to be a reckoning for the Zionist leaders who are responsible for leading this genocide. And so we need effectively a war crimes a convention to be established so these people can face justice, just as we saw after the Second World War. And so we must not rest until such time as Palestine is free from the river to the sea. Free Palestine!
Free, 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 free. Make a big noise of Chris Williamson for the One State Palestine team, okay? Now, thank you very much, everybody, for coming today. We've got a few more speakers. I know it's a long march today, and I know it's school holidays, but we know BBC is complicit in genocide. When the journalists, 5-6 journalists died about over a week ago, what did they say? They said he was in relation with Hamas. Yeah, they said he was a part of them. Shame on them. Instead of saying that our fellow journalist has died and mourning him, they didn't. So BBC, shame, shame. Shame, shame. Shame, shame. BBC. 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 Now, I urge all the journalists up there, if you're listening to us, you should come out and stand in solidarity with the journalists in Gaza. They are your fellow journalists. You need to step up just like Gary Lineker did. You need to come out and stand in solidarity with the journalists in Gaza. BBC, 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 BBC. Now I'm going to introduce you to a lovely lady by the name of Angie Zelta. She is a proper rebel. She's been arrested over 100 times approximately in the USA and Canada as well for taking action. She's going to come and tell you herself, and she's a wonderful lady. She's from the DOJ. Now, you all know what's been going on with the DOJ, yeah? Defenders of juries. So make some noise for DOJ! DOJ! DOJ!
Thank you very much for the activist independent movement. You've done a brilliant job today. It's wonderful to be back in Birmingham with such a mixed crowd. I think you're doing brilliantly. And we have to keep this up, basically. The carnage continues in Gaza, West Bank and East Jerusalem, and our government is refusing to act. Refuses to close down all the Israeli Elbit factories here in the UK, refuses to end all arms exports, refuses to halt all trade deals and negotiations, refuses to stop aiding and abetting the genocide that they are involved in by providing training, aircraft and surveillance information. I stand here in full support of the millions of caring, outraged people of this country who are calling out the genocide and saying, stop this UK collusion. There are more than 1,000 lawyers and legal academics speaking out against the horrendous violations of international law by the Israeli military, including the genocide in Gaza. Over 400 media figures, including 111 BBC staffers, have demanded the BBC remove board member Robbie Gibb over his conflict of interest on Gaza and the Middle East because of his consistent efforts to stifle legitimate coverage of Israel's war on Gaza. We cannot trust our mainstream press to tell us the truth. When the protest march to the BBC to call them out for biased reporting was stopped by the police in January, over 70 people were arrested. I was arrested outside the BBC by myself under public order offences for merely holding a Palestinian flag. So when Yvette Cooper says, oh, don't worry, you can protest however much you like, but just don't mention Palestine action, it's a total lie. We need free, independent and truthful journalists so we know what is going on. But instead, the IDF is killing them all in Gaza. By mid-August, 269 Palestinian journalists had been killed since the start of the genocide. It's been revealed, as another speaker had already told you, that at least a quarter of our MPs have accepted funding from pro-Israel lobby groups or individuals and have made over 240 paid-for trips to Israel, costing £1 million. So we cannot trust our MPs either. Add to all this the complicity of our government that is allowing Israeli officials into the country to lobby ministers and government representatives instead of arresting them for war crimes. We've had reports of visits to the Attorney General, the Home Secretary and Foreign Minister by Netanyahu's officials. And on the 18th of July, Israel's Air Force Chief, who has personally approved airstrikes in Gaza, went to RAF Fairford for a conference hosted by the Royal Air Force and met with commanders from around the world. And recently, as you've probably all heard, there's possibly a $2 million contract going to the IDF to train 60,000 soldiers in how to kill innocent people. Do we really want an armed force that doesn't obey international law? Israeli embassy officials in London have attempted to get the Attorney General's office to intervene in UK court cases relating to the prosecution of protesters. And we know, of course, that Elbit have been pressuring the government and police to stop the increasingly successful disarmament actions of Palestine support groups. Palestine Action has been the one ray of hope, an organisation that is totally non-violent and effective in its dismantling of the Israeli war machine here in the UK. And this is why so many of us have been attending the Defend Our Jury's actions with public protests, displaying placards saying, I oppose genocide, I support Palestine Action. We have been arrested under the Terrorist Act, and we are willing to do it again and again. I took part in the first one on the 5th of July and then again on the 9th of August, and I will do so again on the 6th of September. And I hope many of you will come along too. It is essential, absolutely essential, that all our social change groups and organisations come together to demand justice and accountability. This genocide is not being done in our name, and we need to make that really clear. We will work together. We will not be divided. We will work to stop the destruction of our fragile planet by the rich oligarchs, corporations, armies, and corrupt governments. United in our differences, we oppose Zionism and genocide.
Free, 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 free. Make some noise to Angie Zelta from the DOJ. Now we're going to move on straight to our next speaker. You know him very well, and if you don't, you will know him. His name is Ousman Noor. He's the one who come out with a military intervention. He has a United Nations background, and he's been in the United Nations, what's been going on there. So make some noise for Ousman Noor. Come on, guys, louder.
What I'm about to say, I say in knowledge that there are several policemen dotted around our gathering here who are doing their jobs well, are listening very carefully to what the people are about to say over here and are listening very attentively, because what I'm about to say is not only legally permissible, it is not only legally optional, It is a legal obligation on every single person, on every single state to enter Gaza now with a military intervention to stop what we have been witnessing for the last 22 months, the unhinged fascist violence, the extermination of the Palestinian people from the very inception of this genocide in Gaza. This whole enterprise of apartheid and occupation has been misframed as a war, as a conflict between two sides. It is not that. It is the ongoing extermination of a captive, besieged, helpless population who have been doing their very best for the last 100 years for us to mobilize, and we are starting to mobilize, but we are not going far enough. Yes to boycotts, yes to divestments, yes to sanctions, but that is not going to stop the unhinged extermination that we have all been witnessing for the last 22 months. We need to mobilize. We have been seeing the armed resistance endure a genocide, 22 months, no water, food, the worst bombing campaign in world history. The armed resistance doing what they can to resist. We have seen states like Yemen, with their solidarity with the Palestinian cause, step up to the plate and use armed intervention to stop the fascist enterprise. We have seen others in the axis of resistance show the ultimate form of solidarity, the willingness to resist on the ground to stop the killing. Where are we? Why are our politicians not demanding a military intervention? Yes, we have seen politicians like Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana show solidarity with the Palestinian cause. That is noble, that is right. But we are witnessing the imminent annihilation of the Palestinian people now, in real time. There is only one way to stop that type of violence. They must be stopped. It's that straightforward. If we want to deliver the trucks of aid all around Gaza, while on the other side there are emaciated children dying from starvation, then we must bring the trucks to the children. If we want Israel to stop bombing Gaza, then we must stop Israel from bombing Gaza. If we want to deliver aid and food that is desperately needed, we must break the siege. We have seen civilians attempt this, the Freedom Flotilla and others, rightly taking their own initiative, their own life, willingness to be detained into their own hands to try to break the siege, but they were pirated, captured, detained. Where are our militaries? We have military force. That is their legal obligation to prevent genocide. Every state in the world has signed up to the convention. That is a legal obligation. Where are they? Rule of law countries. Stop the genocide now. Send the armies. Send the navies. Dismantle the checkpoints. Dismantle the apartheid wall. Force Israelis to evacuate from Palestine. This is not controversial. This is what has been ordered by the highest court in the world, the International Court of Justice. The United Nations General Assembly has ordered Israelis to evacuate within 2 weeks. That was 12 months ago. They gave a 12-month deadline, September 2025. What have they done? Carried on their illegal expansionist regime. Why? Because they do not see Palestinians as humans. We do, because we are humans. We are humans from all races, backgrounds, religions, cultures. We identify with the Palestinians because we are humans. Israel has committed a crime against humanity, all of us. Zionism must be defeated. Israel must be defeated. We can win. Dismantle the occupation. Send the forces now. Wake up. Do it now. Mobilize. Join the Protect Palestine campaign and mobilize with us. But more importantly, get the message out. There is no hope of a one-state solution if they're all exterminated. Stop the extermination, then claim what has always been rightly owned by the Palestinian people, their land, their state, their sovereignty, their determination from river to sea, so that there can be, inshallah, a one-state solution.
Make some noise, Osman. Noor, come on again. What do you want? We need a military intervention now, and he makes sense. And we're so glad that we had him here today. So follow Protect Palestine on Instagram for more information, okay? So once again, make some noise of Ousman Noor. Now, I got some information for yourself. If some of you, our colleagues are coming around and they got a boycott Tefa. Now, this basically is your prescription, your choice. Did you know Tefa is an Israeli drug company that openly supports the attack on Palestine? Saying no to Israeli product pressures Israel to end its violence against Palestinians. Nearly all medicines made by Tefa are made by other companies too. It's your right to ask for another brand of medicine. So please, please read this, share this everywhere, okay? So boycott Tefa, okay? Now, excellent. Free. Now, I just got 2 more speakers to go. I do apologize. Unfortunately, Dr. Rahman couldn't make it. She wasn't well. Imam Adil couldn't make it. He had an unfortunate incident as well, and same as Sister Latifa. But we will try and get them again for next time. So we got another Brummy, the brother Ousman, who was from Birmingham as well. Her name is Sarah Ben, Birmingham born and brought up and doctored in NHS 32 years, mostly as a GP in Newtown and Highgate. She's a climate activist and supporter of non-violent direct action to protect our planet, our children's future, and to make a better kind of world. You seen her stop the oil protests and everything. The sisters been behind those as well, okay? So make some noise when I'm ready on Brummy, Sarah Ben.
Thank you. Thank you to the activist independent movement for inviting me here to speak today. And I am going to speak a little bit about activism. So, full disclosure here, I no longer work as a doctor and I have been suspended from the medical register. Nothing to do with my doctoring, but because of the legal consequences of my taking part in climate activism. I'm quite open about this. I don't feel any kind of shame that I've done anything other than reach a point where I felt someone's got to do something to at least try to protect my children's future on this planet. And then I realized that if not me, then who could I expect to do it for me? If I, with all my privilege, white, middle class, able-bodied, chose to stay quiet for my own comfort and convenience, who could I expect to step up and speak out for me and my loved ones? Now, when I was first asked to speak today, I initially declined because I felt overwhelmed by my embarrassing ignorance about what has happened in Palestine over so many years and the complexity of the story, the politics, the conflicting misinformation, the propaganda and misdirection by those with vested interests. And what could this white, middle-class, able-bodied woman possibly have to say of interest to you here today? Well, I'm crossing my fingers that there might be something. So firstly, please forgive that ignorance, most of which has been avoidance on my part until the last couple of years of really looking carefully at what's been going on and trying to make some sense of it. My avoidance of opening my eyes to distressing realities happening in lands far away from my secure, comfy existence in the UK. But what I can say is that it doesn't take anything more than a pair of eyes and ears and a TV to recognize that wholesale slaughter of innocents is taking place daily in Gaza on a horrific scale. It doesn't take any more than a voice to name it as genocide and a little critical thinking to see and call out the criminal complicity of our government, our media, our institutions, those leaders who we look to, who have power, but choose to look the other way, those who stay quiet or make excuses as to why they simply cannot name murder as murder, crimes against humanity as crimes against humanity, and the tactical starvation of a population as the evil that it is. So the very least I can do is to speak out loudly and persistently and disruptively on behalf of those undergoing such atrocities in Palestine. I salute those courageous individuals who step up and do something. The Filton 24 have been mentioned. Those who have gone to prison and remain in prison for simply attempting to stop the murder, the slaughter of people, other people. Why is their situation not all over the media? They have literally put their bodies on the line to stop the machinery of genocide. Rounded up, imprisoned under terrorist legislation. Now, marching with others as we've done today buoys up spirits and gives hope and purpose, but action is also needed. Not everyone's in a position to do stuff that can impact on their job, their family, their responsibilities, but not everybody has to. It doesn't take too many, but the rest of us must give our support loudly and consistently, however much we think we're not heard. Writing to our MP feels pointless, I know, but if everybody who could hold a pen did it, then they might wake up and smell the coffee. But as everyone doesn't do it, it's left to the small number of people prepared to do something more drastic. Now, I have to mind a little bit what I say here about Palestine Action, which is now a proscribed terrorist organization, and voicing support for whom would make me liable to arrest. Now, a couple of weeks ago, hundreds and hundreds of people sat outside Parliament in London and gave their support to Palestine Action simply by sitting with a placard, and I'll tell you what was written on the placard that led to over 500 of them being arrested under terrorist legislation. Each placard read, "I oppose genocide. I support Palestine Action." Now, what I will say on that front is that I wholeheartedly support any non-violent organization taking direct action to interfere with the killing in Gaza. To be clear, the moment that a person or organization's way of operating includes violence to living beings as part of their protest, not to stuff, but to living beings, I withdraw my support. On that subject, it's not illegal to speak out against the proscription of an organization like Palestine Action. And that's exactly what will be done in court in November. We collectively need to resist this attempted silencing of our freedom to speak and protest. So please speak out in whatever way you're able. It's also not illegal to offer love and support to those imprisoned for taking action deemed illegal by the state. Anyone can write a letter to one or all of those currently in prison. And I can tell you personally how much it means to receive a letter like that, so even from a complete stranger, when you're cut off from freedom and normal life and the right to do something to try to make the world a better place. So when you go home tonight, full of defiant spirit, energized by hearing all these inspirational folk, the job is not done. Action is needed. Action to oppose genocide. Action for Palestine. Anyone?
Yes, so make some noise and say that, Ben. Yeah, injustice, we're sacking the system, okay? So we're going to show solidarity with the NHS workers. I'm proud and privileged. Activist independent movement today has so many people representing the health workers. That's very, very good. We've been working really hard to get the health workers. So make some noise with health workers. Now, I've got an announcement to make. An activist independent movement is also supporting this event. It's Peace Not War, tour with Lack and Heat Alliance for Peace. It's Monday, the 8th of September, 2025, 5:30 be there for 5:30 for 6 p.m. start. It finishes at 8:30 p.m. It's at the Old Print Works. Most of you probably know. If not, it's 498 506 Mosley Road, Birmingham B12 9AH. It's free entrance, but donations are welcome to cover the cost. There will be Angie as one of the speakers from the LAP, Kate Hudson from CND, Rob Horsey from Stop the War, and somebody will be there from Westminster PSC as well. Okay, so basically, please try to come to this event. Now, our final and last speaker, you all know her. She always supports activist independent movement. She never lets us down. She supports us from her heart. She always comes here. Today, there was a train strike, so we know some people weren't able to come. She made a 3.5 hours journey just to come here. The whistleblower, the one and only that they're running from, Halima Khan. Make some noise for Halima Khan.
One more, guys.
Thank you. Thank you to the activist independent movement for inviting me as always, and to see all the lovely people of Birmingham here today. Now I'm here to speak about the truth that is Palestine is a testing ground for us all. Whatever happens in Palestine, it is what is coming for us. In Palestine, when I was there during the genocide, when I was going from checkpoint to checkpoint, I had AI cameras doing ID checks on me. When I was in the Labour Party, I saw how Keir Starmer had plans to mass surveil the entire country. So when I say Palestine is a testing ground for us all, we can see how clearly the Zionist government is working to oppress us for being a voice for Palestine, but also for being a voice for England. 3 years ago, I blew the whistle on how the Labour Party created tools to monitor us on social media. 3 years later, we are here now where they're using social media to divide us. Yesterday, Hope Not Hate, an organization that works closely with the BBC, wrote an article about the Operation Raise the Colours, and it said that it is far-right extremism. Are we going to fall for their lies and their deception and their distractions? Do the patriots know that the director of Hope Not Hate is Baroness Ruth Smith, Labour Friend of Israel, who began her career as working for Britain Israel Communications and Research Centre? Now, are we going to allow Israel to steal the identity of England? So, as I stand here today, this is a message to those who want to divide our country, to those who are the cheerleaders of Israel. We tell them we do not fear this flag. We do not fear the flag of St. George, because if St. George was alive today, if he was a child today, Israel would have tried to kill him and his mother for being Palestinian. If St. George was alive today, Israelis would be spitting on his face as he walks through the streets of Jerusalem. If St. George was alive today, Israel would be the beast he is fighting. So tell the Zionists, you will not steal this identity from the English. This identity is tied with the Palestinians, as St. George is the patron saint of Palestine. The only other place you see this flag flown is in St. George's Cathedral in Sheikh Jarrah, East Jerusalem. It is in Bethlehem where Jesus was born. It is in St. George's Monastery, which is in Jerusalem, Palestine, all land that Israel is trying to steal. Yet in England, they have been fooled into believing that the Israeli flag is compatible with this flag. We tell them enough is enough. We will reclaim this identity as ours and as an identity of Palestine. Beyond Palestine, this flag also represents the class divide in Britain. The upper and the middle classes choose to prefer the Union Jack as they are the classes that benefited from colonialism. Now, let me tell you something about Britain. The last colonies of the British Empire is England, it's Scotland, it's Wales, and it's Northern Ireland. So when we say that we are going to resist the empire who gifted Israel the land of Palestine, we are also resisting the empire that oppresses the working class people of Britain. Thank you. Free Palestine and free Britain from the occupation. Thank you.
Make some noise for the whistleblower, Halima Khan. Now I'd like to thank all our speakers today, Brother Amar Gazmi. Make some noise from Brother Amar Gazmi, all the way from Nottingham. Come on, guys, make some noise.